Some aircraft that were clearing. Talks about
Greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio. All right, everybody, greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is January 24th, 2022, and we have our guest, Bryan Bowden. He's on the I guess he's on the call with us right now, but hang on a second, Bryan. I want to give a shout out to everybody I see hanging out, chilling out with us. So we'll start at the bottom, work our way up, and then come back down and see if anybody else wants to say hi. So we got the Happy Plague Doctor is here, AJK is here, Mary Kay, Al Santoriga, Angel and Jesus Christ is in the house. John Clark, how you doing? He says from Joplin tonight. King of Huku Mundu, Not Quite Human, Vash Wolfwood, Two Hats, Hugh Darn. Let's see. There's Davy Jones Locker, Chuck Bam. Scrolling up to see. Sapphire Elf is here. Hybrid Alien. GRZ23. Pamela Rainey is here. Let's see. Journey Through the Gate. Paranormal Portal podcast is in the house already. And Jill, how you doing, Jill? Phoenix Fire, right now, this is me playing video games, is also here today. Let's scroll down and see who else is here. It looks like a bunch of you wanted to get chimed in. Chiru Sounds, Elise Sabiu, Distorted Reality, Joe Kirk, Fred Pace, Stacy Huvius, Val, wow, Pamela Rainey, I might have said that, Two Hats, and Elise Sabiu. Okay, hi from Romania. She says, how's everybody doing today? All right, so the last time I was on the show, my wife was in bed with a really bad case of this sickness that's going around. And I must say, we're all fine now. A week later, everybody is fine. And I must say that I'm just scratching my head in disbelief that we're watching the world really tear itself apart over mandates of this and mandates of that and just all of this division so that maybe possibly we can avoid 2 days in bed. Now, I do understand that a lot of people, that I guess, there's 1% of the population that have these other conditions that cause, that make it so that this is a big deal, kind of like the flu or anything else for somebody. But I mean, I am not by any means a strong, healthy person. I mean, I guess compared to most strong, healthy people, I would be on the low end of it. I'm a little overweight, 45-year-old, 2-pack a day smoker, and it was like nothing. So I'm kind of at a loss for why everybody is freaking out the way that they are. And I think that maybe the whole thing has been blown up and it is ridiculous. And it doesn't, I guess, it's hard to imagine how stupid and ridiculous all this is until it's actually in your house and you can see it and witness it firsthand. And then you realize, like, really, everybody is fighting over that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever noticed in my life. So anyway, moving on, we are back. Conflict Radio is back. I mean, we're back. Everybody's healthy, and we're gonna go with it. So, born and raised in New York City, Bryan Bowden set on a path of architectural engineering, but succumbed to the reality that business was his future. Even though he had a love for the sciences, he managed to squeeze in physics and astronomy while studying finance and graduated from Pace University with a degree in international finance with a minor in emerging markets. Bryan is a creator, producer, and co-host of the critically acclaimed Beyond the Realm radio show. He is a publisher, author, musician, and artist. He left a career in Wall Street to start a think tank and pursue business development on a global scale. All right. Bryan is also the co-host of Inside the Goblin Universe. It's a radio program with Ronald Murphy and host of Nobody But Me. He also has appeared several times on Dave Scott's Spaced Out Radio and also has appeared in numerous newspaper articles, independent films, and a variety top-tier podcasts. Bryan, welcome to Conflict Radio, man. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me back on.
I'm doing really good, and actually, I was very thankful that you messaged me about the show, because I wrote you down on a different day. I actually went and was like, oh, who do I have scheduled Monday? Maybe whatever. Maybe I'll reschedule it in case I'm still feeling a bit under the weather. But I looked and saw that nobody was down there, so I was like, oh, all right, well, I'll just do a show on Thursday, whatever. I'll skip today. Then you messaged me like, hey man, how are we doing this? And I was like, oh shit, okay. So I guess I gotta look at my scheduling book and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so, this is the case with. There's a lot of us are going through this because we all, you have a great show, great podcast. Love the crowd, love everybody in the chat, and a great audience. But there are also other individuals that have, they have good shows. They're not as in your league, but everybody's kind of like, this 2 years has like given people like a brain fog. So I'm forgetting dates left and right. I'm getting yelled at by my wife all the time, and my kids. I'm like, my kids like, Dad, I'm your daughter. I'm like, oh, that's who you are. So yeah, no, I've been there with the dates. I've missed a couple of them myself.
Yeah, it's just amazing what's going on in the world. It's absolutely nuts, and to think that, I mean, we're about ready to. I mean, we're gonna start World War III over Ukraine, aren't we?
No, see, I'm how do I say it? I've done a lot in the political realm and United Nations base. I'm not a big fan of the UN, but this was coming either way. This is a Russia thing, and Ukraine, whether you like it or not, even though they broke off, it's one of the former states of the Eastern Bloc, and Russia wants their aspects of it. Excuse me. So they're gonna take, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and you know what? It's not our business. They're not part of NATO. We're not gonna start a conflict over this. It's really not worth it. I think the bigger problem we have for the U.S. is another country that's in Asia, and it begins with C and it sounds like Ina. But that's a total thing. They want to focus the powers that be that are not really good for anybody at all. They're pretty much evil. They want to distract you with that while they, whatever they do for the Ina company.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. Yep. But it's really interesting from our listener in Romania. I want to thank all those people in Europe and Eastern Europe, especially Romania, that are doing something to fight back on this, and they're not taking this stuff anymore. And this is what we should be doing. We should be taking a key from these people, because freedom isn't free, and you're being trampled on, and we need to stop this.
Yeah. On that note, let's take the politics for the day. We'll throw it aside. I guess 9 minutes, that's long enough to talk about all the garbage in the world. Yep. Let's talk about black eye. Yeah, right. Crack shots talking about the monkeys. Yeah, I don't want to. What is going on with all these missing monkeys in Texas and Pennsylvania? It's like, what is with the missing monkeys? Anyway,
I didn't hear about Texas.
Yeah, there's apparently a crash in Texas too, where a bunch of monkeys went missing.
I think they want. I don't want to even go there.
Yeah, Texas
12
and
monkeys,
PA.
and yep. I don't. PA's crazy enough as it is. Yeah, add a former lab monkey to it, and then you got yourself a nice mix of craziness.
Yeah, we have to emphasize that they are lab monkeys that are missing. They're just not regular zoo monkeys. They're monkeys from laboratories where they like test, all kinds of weirdness. But anyway, let's move on. I do want to talk about black-eyed kids and cryptozoology in general.
Sure.
Before we get on the black-eyed kids, and I don't mean to throw this out there, but there might be people listening, or people that are just searching for cryptozoology. That what is cryptozoology actually, and where did that word come from? Like who created that?
It's kind of odd. I take it back to I forgot his name, but there's a cryptozoological society over in the UK, and it's the study of oddities and non-science based animals or beasts. So they had to give it some kind of term to make it sound more official than, hey, there's a unicorn outside. So cryptozoology is something that is totally unknown in the world. As for who really put it down, I got to be honest, I haven't paid attention. I don't have a degree in this. It's just something that after about 40 years, 45 years of investigating almost everything, it's part of the course. And I use cryptozoology to describe Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman, werewolves, strange,
Anything, right?
mysterious
Fairies,
beasts. Yeah.
fairies, gnomes, giant
Oh,
turtles.
100.
The Happy
Yep.
Plague Doctor says.
Giant turtles, yes. Gigantic turtles, even octopus, in my opinion, are part of the cryptozoological fray because
Yeah, or the giant
there's no.
squid, right?
Yeah, well, see, it's really funny. The octopus, there's no reason why. There's nothing that really links it to this planet. And it's been studied. It's like, this shouldn't be here. So this could have been something that came off a meteor from other end of another galaxy that was traveling through space, hit the Earth, and the next thing you know, you have these creatures that can transform into, any shape. They could change their texture, their color. I mean, they're amazing creatures. So if you didn't know anything about this, you saw an octopus, you saw it change its shape and its color and its physical, get ridges on it. You'd be like, what mystical creature is this? But it's an octopus.
Yeah. Al
So-
Santariga says cryptography, the study of undiscovered creatures. And I
Yep.
would imagine that would be anything like Loch Ness or anything like that. So,
100%. It's I guess when
gnomes,
they were
right?
gnomes gnomes would be it. Some people used to call it mysterious beasts to make it sound, great
What
or
were those?
mysterious.
What were those things from Fraggle Rock? Do we have any idea what those things were?
Oh, those are just Muppets. That's it. I don't even know. I mean, like
They would be cryptids, right?
yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go so far to say that I remember being introduced to this at a young age. Thank you, Leonard Nimoy, and In Search of, with the Yeti, the Abominable Snowman, Loch Ness Monster, and Bigfoot, the Patty footage for the most part. But this has grown. There's Dogman, there's Goatman, there's Lizard Man, there's flying human cryptids. There's even, I believe it's pterodactyls and thunderbirds. These are animals that should have been extinct for decades. There's a plesiosaurus dinosaur reportedly, Mabumbo, or what, I forgot the name of it, in Africa. So this is all this mysterious stuff. Snuffleupagus would be one animal, the Muppet. Anything seriously in Chupacabra. Someone's mentioned Chupacabra. Yes.
Now, what about like demons or angels or genies or
Okay.
ghosts? Would they all be considered cryptids as well?
I would. Okay. So in the ghost spectrum, I would say that falls into the, ghost hunting, spirits and paranormal. When most people think paranormal, they're thinking of, in my opinion, ghosts. They'll call it ghost hunting now because of the show, but that was on that end of it. But as far as genies, it goes back in history to the jinn, and the jinn were these entities that ruled the earth until God decided to put man on it, and he banished them into the darker regions where they, he said the earth, humans shall be ruling the earth, not you, and took it away from them. The jinn have had a problem with us as human beings for millennia because they were ruling the roost. When you get into the Holy Saint Michael prayer, it says, protect us from Satan, all evil spirits prowling, the earth, seeking the ruin of man. Before you had the devil here, before you had Lucifer and demons, You had other entities and beings that were on this planet, be it interdimensional or extraterrestrial or that just exist, that were here long before God got here. And God cleared the way and said, nope, we're not doing this.
So, but those would be cryptids too, then. I mean, right? I mean, it's like a legend of lore.
Yeah, it all gets into folklore and legend. Um, the jinn, otherwise known as genie's magic bottle and what have you, they come to fruition through Arabic law, Arabic folktales. So they're mostly a Middle Eastern based or Arabic, nomadic type of entity that they don't even want to discuss because they don't want to bring it. It's funny. We had a phone call today with someone who contacted us about some experience, and we knew this, and a lot of the Native Americans know this. You don't mention the name of these things. You don't mention it because then if you mention its name, you give it energy and a purpose, and they're worried about it coming back to them to haunt them. That's why they don't. That's why they'll spell SKINWALKER instead of saying it, or the Winnie the Go, because they don't want this stuff to come to them. But the problem we have today in this last probably year or so is we have this religious connotation coming in from multiple directions that everything they're listing everything as a demon. Sasquatch is a demon, Bigfoot, demon, Dogman's demons, ghosts are demons, interdimensional beings are demons. It's just anything, or a fallen angel, or they use the Nephilim, right? And I just don't buy it. I think these are all individual entities. Demons are demons, and these are their own, entities. This is a species, whatever you want to call it, and that's what it is. It's just they're using a generalization, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's even relative to the subject. It's too ultra right religious.
Well, where would black-eyed kids fall into this? Would they be considered demons or cryptos?
Well, some people would fear them as demons, and I lean a little bit to some kind of demonic entity, but I also lean with something more so of an interdimensional. And it's interesting because they're smart enough to know how to prey on the human consciousness and emotions. See, we're one of the few that have emotions. There are other animals that have some kind of emotional, feel to them, but we really go by our emotions. Feeling is very important. So they know that if they present themselves as helpless children, we're 9 out of 10 times we're going to be like, hey, yeah, we'll help you. We'll get you to the police station. But the problem with black-eyed kids is there's this fear, this innate fear that just overcomes you when they're present. It starts off as a startleization. Like you'll be someplace, they'll knock on your door of the house, or they'll knock on your car. Matter of fact, I can tell you the first person that really reported it was a reporter out of Abilene, Texas in 1996. And that was Bryan Bowden. He was the first one. He didn't believe in any of this stuff. He wasn't one of those believers, but he was going to pay his utility bill, and they had one of these things where they had a utility bill box so you can, just drop it in there. So you don't have to wait till the store opens up to pay your cable, electric, whatever. And it was at night. It was late at night. And he pulled in front of a movie theater awning to get some lights because he was writing a check. He was going to get it, put it in the envelope, and then drop it in the box. And these two kids knocked on his window, startled him, like, hello? And, they said, can you give us a lift, please? We're trying to catch this movie, and we've got our money, so can you just give us a lift home? And he was taken back, and he said that when it happened, he just got this. He went to open the door, but there's something inside him said, do not open that door. He said he was gripped with such tremendous fear that it scared the hell out of him. And the kids, as he didn't do anything about it, he was trying to be polite, but they got more aggressive. And then he said that their eyes changed from having they were dark to begin with. They were like wearing hoodies, There was like a 16-year-old, well, someone who looked like more like a 15, 16-year-old, and a younger one, like 10ish. Like, this is like the late show, 11:30 at night, right? And he was about to open the door. He was, playing on the compassion side of him. Then he realized that if he gave him a lift, the movie already started, so they're going to miss the movie. And then they got more aggressive. Just open the door. Why don't you open the door? Let us in. We'll open the door. And it freaked him out, and he just took off. He took off from it, and the whole incident really shook him. And he wrote it. He wrote about it. He penned it. And again, this is a non-believer in this stuff. He's just a writer and a writer, and he writes, whatever he can get his hands on, be it short stories or, reporting on incidences for variety magazines or newspapers. And this incident totally threw him. He's heard he heard the horror stories, but this was like, what the hell was this? He's freaked out by it. So he was the first one to do it. And roughly around that time, there was also another report. I don't know the full details. It's kind of hard to get them, but there was a report roughly of the same type of situation, kids in distress, odd type of moment. They're at the house of this person. They knock on his door. Hey, can we come in? We need help. Late at night, and the owner of the door opens, and they ask, can we come in? And he doesn't say anything, and he gets that feeling of dread, and their eyes turn, like, not just their pupils, we're talking the whole entire eye, the tapia, everything, jet black. And he said, I've never had that kind of fear in my life, and I slammed the door and I closed it. And he didn't leave that spot. And something said to him, do not let these things in. So, when you research this stuff, and when you get other reports in different areas, but what I found is, something I found very interesting is that the first report was in Abilene, and it's not that far away from Waxahachie, Texas, okay? What Waxahachie makes it so important, and why I'm leading you to it, as well as the other one in Portland, Oregon, is one of the world's largest colliders was being built there. That's a particle accelerator, like the Hadron Collider over in Europe, CERN. And they did some testing there. They never finished it, but right around the same time they were supposed to, get really rocking and rolling, and is roughly around the time frame of when this incident took place. Move yourself to the West Coast, Portland, Oregon, where that interest, took place. They have several other colliders in there. Portland State University specifically has its own internal collider. And this, I think, and there are a couple other incidents around the world, and there are other colliders there. They weren't on the grand scale as CERN. CERN's hundreds of miles in circumference, but these were smaller particle accelerators. And I think, this is my theory, that they were playing around with these things, and they created a rip in our timeline, our dimension, with other dimensions. Beknownst to them, or maybe it was, I don't know, I wasn't there. Things started probably getting weird.
So you're talking kind of like a rip, like in the in that Stranger Things show, right?
Yep, that's exactly what would have been. So they're accelerating particles, and it's like kids playing with fireworks. You don't know, like, hey, they light a firecracker, great. Let's go bigger, and then they blow their hand off. They have no clue what they were playing with because they're quote unquote scientists. But what I think they did was they did put a rip in space time, and as well as dimension. This gets into quantum physics, multiple dimensions at the same time. So we have like 27 same timelines going at the same time. There's another interview exactly on Conflict Radio. It's probably spelled with a K in a different timeline, and
that'd be cool.
Overlapping.
I'd like to listen to that show.
Well, it could be very, very cool with the K in it, but what happens is if you create a hole, or you leave a hole, let's say you leave a hole in your house, right? You live in the country. What's going to come through that hole? Well, water is going to come on. You know that. but you're also going to start getting varmints, right? You're going to get rats or mice or bugs or snakes or whatever. And I think these things came in. They said, "Ooh, what's this?" And they knew exactly what they wanted. And I think they went to go and prey on people to get them to come outside or allow them to come in so that they could, for all intents and purposes, ingest them. And it may have something to do with the soul, but I think it's also the taste of human flesh.
Now, didn't they just turn on CERN? It was off for a while, wasn't it?
It was off for a while. They turned it back on, and they're building a bigger one. But I'm gonna bypass CERN for 2 seconds here and go into where this connects a little bit more to the cryptozoological type of thing.
All right.
Right now in the Chicago area, there are massive, they've been for a couple of years now, massive sightings of these Mothman-esque flying humanoids. Literally these creatures that with wings flying like giant bats. It looks very much like the Mothman that you had in Western West Virginia, Point Pleasant. And that, the bridge, they had the Mothman hanging on the bridge collapsed, people died. They said it's a bad omen. I think what was taking place there and what took place at the one up in Chicago, why we have so many sightings of this, is the first collider ever was up in Illinois, Firm Lab. And I think they created a rip in space-time there. They shut down, they started in the early mid-90s. They shut down around 2008 to 2010. They just abruptly shut down. And these things started popping out. Then they picked it back up again and they started doing it. And now more and more sightings of these creatures that some people are reporting as interdimensional. And some people are reporting communication with them using remote viewing and other, I guess, enhanced human capabilities. Gifts, talents,
Yeah.
psychicness. It's also interesting to note that when at the same time that the collider was shut down abruptly, is the same time that and I keep forgetting the name of this paranormal investigator, but that's when the Mandela effect was first giving its name, because this paranormal investigator, she thought that Nelson Mandela was dead, but when she did the research, she could have sworn he was dead, but when she did the research, he was alive. And from that point forward, we've had this Mandela effect on top of it. And I contend that, think of our timeline as timeline A, right? We're playing on it. We create a rip in timeline A and we hit some of the side timelines, B and C and D. And I think what happened is part of timeline A, when they stopped it and things went back together, we went from timeline A and we joined in with the end of timeline B. And now this is why people born up to a certain age, up to like 1990, 9 to 2009, see and remember things one way versus individuals that said, no, I never saw that. I remember it always is this way. It would be logical. On our timeline, it was the Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia. On the other timeline, it was this Fruit of the Loom without the cornucopia. And if you ask now, it'll just be without the cornucopia, because we got that end of the timeline attached to our timeline. And I think because of this experiment, they allowed a ton of these different interdimensional creatures to start just coming through the cracks.
Yeah.
And like what's going on here? Oh, that's interesting. Ooh, those taste good.
Well, if they really did come through and they're here now, why are we not seeing more of them run around, or why are we not getting more pictures of them or people posting videos of them? Like why is every picture we see always a crappy picture or a crappy video from far away? Like,
that's a little bit easier to explain than you would think. Again, there's a couple of variables here. So when you're talking about science and you talk about these colliders, you're not just talking about a couple of scientists. You're talking about governments and government agencies. All scientists are paid, be it directly or indirectly, through the U.S. government, specifically the military and black projects. It's a fact. Okay, they're definitely, that's where they're getting their compensation from. And if they're doing these things and stuff goes awry, or monkeys escape from a truck, they have to do everything in their power to cover it up. So anybody that's posting stuff that would be negative towards the project or be presumed as a hazard, they're going to cover it up. They're going to stop it. Don't talk about it. Maybe they'll kill people. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll discredit people.
You know, you bring up a good point that you might not even have realized you brought it up, but it just gave me an idea when you were talking about those monkeys. Like, what if they weren't monkeys? What if they had something caged and they were bringing it from one thing to another, or from one place to another place, and it crashed and these things got out? What if it was something from a different dimension or a parallel universe?
But you see, that's the whole thing. It very well could have. Maybe it looks like a monkey. Maybe it looks very similar to a primate, but it's not. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's maybe it's an alien species. Maybe it's a genetic experiment, DNA type of thing, where they combine like a monkey with an elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've got a dangerous animal there. Besides the fact that we've all seen these movies, like, I mean, like, as soon as I heard about the monkeys, I'm like, oh, there we go. There's Ebola, the new word of the day.
Oh,
Ebola.
no, that's exactly what I was thinking too, actually.
Yep, monkey zero.
But you're right. It could be a monkey tiger hybrid, right?
It very well could be. I mean,
there's no telling, I guess.
There's a lot of scientists.
They Sapphire Health says God. It's a squonk.
Yeah, it's a squonk. Oh, poor squonk.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, it can kill you with its, like index finger, but it's a poor squonk. Yeah, whatever it is. But this, I know it's a theory, but it's actually a little bit more plausible than some of the other things. Like, oh, it's just from an alien. I think it's actually interdimensional. I think we're getting more and more interdimensional beings coming here. And some of those beings have been here for a while. They know how to transfer in and out. And I never was this in the beginning. When I started, I was more on the primate, Gigantopithecus type of, bandwagon. But we had an experience in a couple of, couple investigations that changed my perspective. And I believe that Sasquatch is its own species, and it can go interdimensional. It has the ability, innate, I can't explain it just yet, to change its physical form into different types of particles and energy to go into that interdimensional space. And what if that can do it, then there are other entities that can do it too. And, from the black-eyed kids to those shadow people that visit you in the middle of the night. The difference between shadow people and black-eyed kids: shadow people will come to you and scare you. That energy, that scare energy, that adrenaline. And I'm not talking adrenochrome right now, so just so you know.
Oh, man, you shouldn't have said that.
I'm not talking about that.
You get me in trouble.
But it's kind of similar to that principle. That's their energy source. And that's why the moment you don't get scared from these things, they go away. They don't even bother coming back. They will never come back to you if you stand up to them. So that's an energy source. But we're also a food source to a lot of these entities.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dracos too, right? We had an alien human hybrid on the show, I guess a week ago, last Monday, who said that humans are bred for eating, a lot of these underground places.
Well, it's very interesting you said that. A lot of people,
I said that.
And a lot of people talk about cattle mutilation.
We dance that line here.
Yeah. Well, in the 70s, 80s, there's a lot of cattle mutilations. These animals the organs are surgically removed. There's no blood. There's select features, the sexual organs are taken. Um,
You, you
and
know
but
it,
no,
you freaked me out about when you say stuff like that, because I was in 1994. I was going through, I guess, the country roads in Alabama with some friends of mine. I think I was 18, 19 years old, that I
right,
worked with at the restaurant or whatever. And we were just looking for a place to have a bonfire, smoke a little smoky smoke, and
yep,
we were looking for some cardboard or paper or something, just trash on the side of the road to use for kindling, because it was kind of wet. And we stopped. There was a cardboard box on the side of the road, so we stopped. Right, let's grab this cardboard box. That's great. And we pull over the side of the road. We go to the cardboard box, and lo and behold, we dumped it out on the side of the road to see what was in it, and it was literally a cow's head in there, and
Jesus.
it was a straight line cut off, like if you had cut the head off with a laser. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it was just a straight cut in a cardboard box on the side of the road out here in Alabama. And I hear that, man,
wow.
that really freaked me out. I'll never forget that. I remember that to this day. I remember
Yeah,
I remember like that whole night.
yeah. I think if you've seen that would kind of like resonate with you for the rest of your life. But what part of this whole thing is everybody's trying to explain this, and there's a lot of UFO activity over these type of mutilations, but no one really wants to talk about the human mutilations that are found. And part of the human mutilations goes back to the gray aliens. That yes, we did make an agreement. Eisenhower made an agreement. You could abduct some people, and we get information and science and whatever. But a lot of these ET, the smaller grays, no more than 4 feet tall, they have a taste for human flesh, and they have definitely have escaped their captivity and or have come here on craft. They abduct people. They take the parts that they want, and they eat them. And it's not eating them through the mouth. The way that these creatures do ingest is through their skin. So they would rub it on their skin, and it gets into their paws and that pores, and
Huh.
that's how they eat. But people don't want to talk about human mutilations because it's that's a direct, like, oh, these aliens are so cool and the Galactic Federation, blah blah blah.
Well, I mean,
That's
it happens, right? I mean, there's
yeah,
literally, there's what I think the last statistic I saw, at least this is pre 2020, it was like 800,000 people go missing in the United States every year.
yep,
That's
yep.
a lot of that's a lot. Think about it. That is a lot of bodies that have
Well,
not been found.
right, and Alaska's a huge place for people to disappear, and I'm going to say that some of them have gone the way of abductions, like extraterrestrial based. Some
Yeah.
of them have been, I would say, used for rituals, and we'll leave it at that. Something that's very interesting that came across a few times with me in the last couple of months is, we have a lot of people being bussed from the border that are trying to enter this country illegally. And apparently the U.S. government, or the specific administration that's in power right now, has been busing them to select parts of the country. It just so happens that a lot of these parts of these countries are where DUMBs are. That's deep underground
Yeah,
military
yeah,
bases.
yeah.
And
We're starting to dance into areas we should probably avoid.
yeah,
Let me ask you this. I do want to get away from
sure.
that. I had again, I'm going to mention the last guest I had on the last show, because she absolutely blew my mind. I think I had to take a week off after doing that show, because I couldn't think about anything else for like 4 days except for what we talked about. But she had mentioned that Sasquatch and Bigfoot, whichever you want to call it,
Hmm.
is really the native humanoid to Earth, and that humans, us, we are Sasquatch alien hybrids. What would you think of that?
I think it's actually a pretty decent theory. It's
It is,
not a
isn't it?
bad theory. Yeah, I mean, for a while there, you know, the thought of the missing link being a Sasquatch is very plausible. That space between, like, okay, because we're missing something here. We go up to a certain point, then all of a sudden it disappears, and the next thing you know, you have humans. There has to be, what's that piece, one or two pieces that are missing? And it very well could be extraterrestrial intervention, experimentation with human DNA, or creating this DNA and seeding this planet. I could see that happening. Now, when you're talking about the person who says that they're on the, was said reptilian, or what part of the space were they from that they're claiming that they're a hybrid?
The Greys.
The Gray. Okay, well,
Yeah, I guess
when you get into,
there's different evolutions of the Gray.
yes, there's small grays, there medium grays, which are about 6 to 7 feet tall.
Yeah, and there's even mechanical
they're
Greys,
even,
like
right.
engineered Greys. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the small grays are engineered. They're extraterrestrial biological entities. They're clones.
Yeah.
They're worker bees. They're the ones that, go get this, you do this, whatever. They're not very intelligent. On the intelligent quotient, they're under 100 if you're using an IQ. The ones that are in the middle are usually ambassadors, and those are the ones that are making the deals. They speak for some of the higher ups, be it the taller grays, or Pleiadians or Nordics or whoever else that they are kind of working with. They have a relationship also with reptilian-based creatures, entities, extraterrestrials, and those reptilians are a lot more. They like us. We're tasty, and they're not afraid to say it. And I do put some, I would put that we are probably an experiment more so than we know.
Yeah, well, humans taste like pork, right?
Well, according to a couple of Hawaiians that I've interviewed, yes, humans. They said this. 2 people actually said, I was in Hawaii. I did the honeymoon there, and I talk to everybody. My wife hates it. Well, I said, you guys eat a lot of spam. What the heck's going on with that? And 2 of them, separate times, separate people, I asked. It's the closest thing they said to the taste of human flesh, because Hawaiians were cannibals at one point. So think about that. And human flesh and pork, very similar. Hence why, if you go back to the Old Testament, pork is banned from being consumed because it's human
so
flesh.
Close. Yeah, it's so close.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that why the Bible says not to eat it as well?
Yep. It's very reminiscent to the flesh of a human being. And
that means that our stomachs are like bacon.
Yeah, our bellies are that good belly cut. You grill them and
yum.
This is good. Let me get some eggs on that. It's so. I mean, like, a lot of all these crazy things are interrelated. This is where see, this is what cryptozoology is about. It's the unknown. It's what I've been trying to do, and my partner who's up there in the what do you call it, in your chat right now. We both have our own opinions. I think out of the box. He's a little bit more, in a different direction. But what's great is he'll throw a theory my way. I'll say, you're crazy, and then something will happen. I'm like, oh, maybe he's right. And I go back the same way, and he's like, you're crazy. And then it comes, sometimes it pans out. So we work really, really well with each other. But these are the questions, and these are the mysteries that we're trying to solve, and trying to get answers for. Soylent Green, I'm seeing someone up there. It tastes like chicken. I'm sure we taste like chicken. In a
not quite human says he's getting hungry now with us talking about bacon.
Well, yeah. What can I tell you? But it's there's a lot of extraterrestrials, on the ET side of it. They are here for domination. They're very aggressive, extremely intelligent, super powerful. I do believe they have more control or influence over the governments of the world than individuals, and they're here to stay. They're not going anyplace. But
I agree with you. I think they've been here for a long time. I think they're born here, they're raised here. They might not ever even I guess it had been to their home world, right? They're born here,
Right.
been here, and I mean they'll never go back. They'll stay here forever and ever. I mean, I would imagine just the same as people, like if we were to, send people, asleep on a cruiser or whatever and send them into space, 500,000 years, from now, they land at some planet. I mean, they're not going to have any idea what Earth was like.
Well, that generation would, but the next, generation thereafter and so on, they
But
wouldn't
once you get
understand it.
into 3 or 4 generations later, that they're it's probably just a myth.
Yeah, it's that's the whole thing. I believe that we have extraterrestrials that have been here for millennia, and we have. I don't think the current Earth and what we see there and what we've discovered in the fossil record is accurate at all. We're finding newer things as we dig deeper. I think there were societies on this Earth well before we got, our existence that got to a certain point and did like every other society, they destroyed themselves.
Yeah. Do you
And
think that it's possible that some of these cryptids are coming out of the hollow Earth?
I 100% believe that they are coming out of the hollow Earth. Cryptids. It's not just an interdimensional thing. There's been talks of lizard people, in inner Earth, tall whites, Nordics in inner Earth, and other entities that have lived in different levels of the inside of the Earth that exist there right now, like massive cities that we have yet to been able to publicly state that they exist.
Yeah,
But
until Antarctica melts, and there it is.
Exactly the point. Isn't it very interesting that nobody can go to Antarctica without express permission from a select nation or two on this planet? I mean, Antarctica is literally controlled by every nation of the planet. They know things.
You can charter a sailboat to bring you to Antarctica, and then you can just get out and walk wherever you want to go. I wouldn't imagine somebody's going to stop you from walking.
Oh, they're going to stop you, all right.
I mean, you might have to walk
Guaranteed.
2,000 miles over, mountain ranges through snow and stuff. But
I think it was.
I mean, what do they have drones up there just looking for walkers?
They have everything up there. They have flights over it. They have bases on it. They're discovering places within it. I'm talking about miles and miles under the ice. And the reports are real cities, extraterrestrial based. There are even reports that some of the, at the end of World War II, 250,000 Nazis disappeared from the planet. And the ongoing talk or discussion or report is they had technology. They were very close to creating a real flying saucer. And their technology, rocket technology that we got through Operation Paperclip, when it came from...
Operation Paperclip happened right here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Well, who the godfather of NASA is, right?
Yeah, von Braun, yeah. He was a horrible Nazi.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's many nice Nazis in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, but he was a bad one. In fact, I pick up a lot of Germans sometimes because I Uber around this town, and they laugh because we have like the von Braun Center and von Braun this and von Braun that all down here in Huntsville. And they'll laugh like you can't even say his name in Germany or they'll fine you.
Yep, they will, because I mean, he was part of the party. They were, I kid you not, under 24 hours away from literally winning this war with technology that blew us away. We didn't have it. We had a lot of scientists, but we didn't have what they had. And when von Braun at one point was interviewed by another reporter, they got the opportunity, they had lunch, and they said, well, you were so close to winning. Where the heck did you get all this technology? How did you discover it? And von Braun said, without question, we got help from them, and he pointed up. And he wasn't talking about God. He was talking about extraterrestrials. That's what he's basically saying. So they created a craft called the Nazi Bell. And there may be some actual movie footage of it that circles around the globe that is real. But the rumor is that the 250,000 Nazis escaped by going to an underground base in Antarctica. They were heavily present in Antarctica for a specific reason, and they were told to go there. And
Yeah,
and
I
these
wouldn't be
governments know it.
surprised if a lot of what happened during World War II isn't being played out right now.
This could be the Fourth Reich we're talking about right now.
with the deep state and everything that we see going on now. I mean, a lot of people say that this is all pretty much it all has to do with that kind of technology. It's fascinating, really.
It's not only that technology, but, and I'm not going to go into it, but if you parallel what has taken place in the last 3 years, it parallels almost to the letter what took place in Nazi Germany and how they got into power and all the stuff. But it would get into things that would get you shut down, and I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah, we certainly strayed away from our black-eyed kids subject a little bit. But let me ask you this: we were talking about shadow people before we got on our little tangent there. Let me ask you a shadow people now. There's a lot of them that don't care if you know that they're there or not. I mean, they'll go around the house doing their own thing. They don't care if you see them or not. They're kind of just do their own thing. Like I've seen one before, and it just walked right by me and just didn't have a care in the world that I noticed it or that I knew it was there. It just doesn't care.
What was your feeling about it? Did you feel
it
afraid?
startled me, but I wasn't afraid of it at all. Really, I was just like, well, whatever, go do your thing.
Well, yeah. See, that's what it gets back to. What I feel that they feed off of fear. I kind of use the example of Monsters Inc. Right? So they create a doorway, they go into a kid's room, they scare them, and then it energizes the battery, and then they leave. Right? The scare, that energy, that focus, is what they get off on. That's why when a lot of these reports, you'll say, I had this fear that I couldn't move, and there was something there, and it kind of get closer, and they kind of get closer to you and lean into you, and almost engulf you because they're eating that energy. They want that. I don't think it has to do with anything demonic or soul-based as much as that's their food source, that fear. The adrenaline creates a byproduct because technically every human being has an electric kind of current through their body. We are electric in many ways.
I mean, that's our brain, right?
Right. So it's like this is how they recharge themselves. This is their food source. And when you're not afraid, you change your energy to a different type of output. That adrenaline picking up, like, I'm going to kill you. And they back away usually. But you weren't a threat to it, and it knew that, well, this one's not going to work. So I'll go through the house to try to find somebody that I will get, and they appear in different ways. I don't know why sometimes they call them Hat Man, and they wear like this, brimstone type of hat or whatever. I don't know what the purpose is, maybe to make themselves look bigger than they are. Because I've seen small ones that are probably 3 to 4 feet tall. I've seen tall ones that are about 6 to 7 feet tall. Matter of fact, my first ever experience with a shadow person, never had one thereafter. It was one of these nights, my child was sleeping, and I was able to shut all the lights off in the house. I have yet to be able to shut off all the lights in my house in the last 10 years at night because my kids go crazy in the dark. But I shut them all off. My wife's sleeping. The door was closed. I didn't want to bother her. And I was in the bathroom. I came out I shut the light off in the bathroom, had my eyes adjust to the dark. I opened the door and I walked out. And then maybe 5, 6 feet. And then my door to the bedroom is to the right of me. The minute I opened the door, there was this shape that was right in front of me by the door that was human shape. I saw where the head would be. It was blacker than the black of the room. I saw the shoulders, and I saw this thing right in front of me, no more than a foot away. I put the gun back, the right, and I took a shot at it, and it disappeared. I'm like, what the hell was that? And when I walked in the room, I looked over to the right where my wife was sleeping, and there was one coming closer. I said, hell no, and I ran after it, and it just dispersed, and I've never seen it again.
So Hat Man, what kind of hat does Hat Man wear? Is it a sombrero or a top hat?
No, think of like a Stetson, or what's the hat that the
It's a cowboy hat.
Yeah, like a cowboy hat, like in Curious George, the guy that's I guess the owner, he wears that wide rim hat, and kind of like Hoss would wear, and I'm gonna give my age away there, Bonanza, some kind of hat like shaped like that, or it's a stovepipe hat, kind of similar to like a chimney sweep in My Fair Lady, or what the hell.
Oh, okay. Well, my Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins, like Mosa. And
it's
that's
not, it's not a top hat, like where there's top hats and canes and stuff.
No, no canes. It's just.
Is it the same hat in every country, or is some countries the sombrero might be scary, right? Like,
it could be scary, but if you're used to sombreros and you see someone with like a top, like a tin hat, like one of those, what they use now in steampunk stuff, you would be like, "What the hell is that? That's unusual." It's all based on. I would
laugh
fear,
at a shadow person with a sombrero on. I think that'd be funny.
I think that would be hysterical. I'm like, "Oh, tequila? Okay, come on, let's go, some tequila."
It's not scary at all.
Yeah,
let's get drunk.
Yeah, let's go. You got some Mexican gold? Come on, let's go. But it's I'm sure it's different in different for different people, but it's not necessarily the hat that matters as much as it's the fear. Some people are just deathly afraid of this, and then it moves from seeing this thing away from them, or it could be at the other end of the room, to it getting closer and then closer until it's right near them. And they said that they feel this weight, like they're being held down, and they don't want to look at it, but they're totally terrified. And that's basically common in every situation. Yeah. It's the fear aspect of it. Tell you what, if you live in a Second Amendment state and you come into the house, hat or no hat, I think that was going to put the blood in you.
I don't want to shoot up my walls over a shadow person.
Well, it's totally different. Now that you understand that it's the fear that makes the moment, if you're not fearful of it, and I know it's easier said than done, especially if you live by yourself. But a
Lincoln hat, the type of hat Lincoln wears. Yes. Is that what you're talking about?
Stove top, or
the Lincoln hat. Yeah.
Lincoln
Thank
hat.
you.
Yeah,
I'm looking Holonaut Psychtron with that one. Threw that one out there.
I don't think it's a bowler, McFadden. That would be a little bit too much like Watson from Sherlock Holmes.
All right.
But yeah, and I think that they all prey on fear between the black-eyed kids, and there's a fear factor in both of them. I think the shadow people prey on the fear and they use that as energy. But I think what happens with the black-eyed kids and their desire it's very interesting. They have to get permission before they come in, which is very odd. Like, and this is something I've been, my buddy Al and I talked to a couple other people, about this. Why is it that a lot of these negative, entities, cryptozoological entities, Dogman, which looks like a werewolf, that the Hat Man, the shadow people, these black-eyed kids, for some reason, when they get to your home, they can come in if they want, break a freaking window, but for some reason they don't, and they always try to seek permission or get you to come outside. Come on, come outside. And for some reason it's been throwing me forever. It's like a vampire. A vampire can't come into your home unless you give it permission. So it's the same thing with black-eyed kids.
What happens if you give them permission?
Well, that's where the S hits the fan. You let these kids, it's funny. You have people reporting these black-eyed kids events, some of which I think are genuine, some of which I think are are people, scared out of their mind just from a situation, and so they're gonna make it's all psychosomatic. But you don't hear from the people that let them in the house. You never hear from those people. It would be a nice perspective to know what the hell happened.
It's part of that 800,000 that are missing.
Yeah, well, I think for lunch,
Yeah.
Who knows?
There you go.
They could literally just, they could come if they could change.
So why do they have to have your permission? I don't know. I can't. Why do they have to have your permission to actually come in? Like what does giving them permission actually do that allows them to come inside?
I think it's like a lot of things that have been taking place in the world with select evil people of the world that have taken place. The evil people around the world and what's been going on the last couple of years, they always tell you in advance what they're going to do. And when you do not balk at it, when you do not say, no, you can't do that, it's almost giving permission. So I think them asking to come in the house by you welcoming them in your house, and the house is the holiest place in the land. Your home is supposed to be a holy place where God exists, and good and love and light and that type of stuff. By letting them in, you're saying, oh, you can come in, and then once you give them permission to come in, they're going to devastate you. You allowed it to happen by giving me permission to come in. You don't know who I am. But that's when that inner sense of fear kicks in, right? When you get that sixth sense, like your stomach hurts, like, no, something's wrong about this, or you get that incredible fear, and that's the difference. That's where it is. Your sixth sense, that gift that God gave to everybody, the ability to understand when there's good things happening, when bad or something's not right. That's telling you, listen, these things are evil. Don't let them in your house.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it would be great to hear from somebody that, well, I let them in and they attacked me and I had to fight them off. And
yeah, or your car, right? They want to get in your car too. That's true. So if anybody out there is listening, has had a black-eyed kids encounter, and you've actually let them into your house or your car, and you're alive to tell the story, send us an email at info@conflictradio.net, and we'll get you on the air to tell your story. That sounds like fun.
That would be great.
You ready for some questions, man? We've got quite the group of questioner askers, I suppose. Is the conflictors. They're pretty good. They're not conflicting, but they're conflictors, if that makes any sense.
That's fine. I'm ready.
But they always had the best questions. It's what I hear from every single guest that we have. You guys are awesome. So now is your time. Make sure you hit that like button. Check out our store. Also, all the links to Bryan Bowden are down in the description box below. Make sure you check those out as well. If you have a question, now's the time. You can write it down in the YouTube, I guess, chat box there. Not the comment section, but the live chat box, and we can get to them. So I guess we'll get started. Let me ask you a question first, and then we'll get on to them as I'll have to hunt them down. So have you heard about the new, and I'm just going to throw this out there, the new Beavis and Butthead remake that they're doing?
I heard that something like that was taking place.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome because you know who Corn Pop is, right?
Yeah,
all right.
You like to touch your legs. You like to touch the legs.
Yeah. So apparently they're gonna have a Cornholio. It's really gonna be like they're going that direction. They're gonna be 45 years old, and Cornholio is gonna be Corn Pop, right? Like he's gonna be bullying people down at the local pool. So that's actually pretty cool, and I love the fact. God bless those guys for literally taking that and running with it. That's going to be awesome. All right. So the Happy Plague Doctor with the $2 super chat, he says nobody talks about giant turtles. So let's go there on the question before I guess the last question I have of the night is what's up with the giant turtles, man? Have you heard about that giant turtle in Texas?
No, I mean, turtles live a very, very long time. And, I mean, if you have a 100-year-old, 150-year-old turtle, not unheard of, mind you, they're going to be larger. I've actually been in the ocean and had a sea turtle, which is huge, come up to me. So I don't know how big that giant turtle was in Texas. So no, I mean,
Like the size of a Volkswagen Bug.
oh my God,
Yeah.
that boy or girl is eating good. I mean, I think the problem we have is we've explored more of space than we have of our oceans that
Well,
that we're that we're aware of. There's things coming up that recently there were some earthquakes. Matter of fact, you should check out what's after the Tonga volcano, what got released and what is washing up on the shores. You will see some amazing creatures that you never will ever see again because they live at depths that we don't go. So these giant turtles could literally be ancestors of some of the dinosaur type of turtles that are out there, and they're just still alive.
yeah. I find it's just crazy, and I can't even. I would imagine that was a snapping turtle too. Could you imagine a snapping turtle the size of a Volkswagen Bug? It'd probably take your freaking leg off.
I'll tell you what, those big like garbage cans, I don't know how many gallons they are, big ones. We had one that just barely fit into that can, and that was a nasty bastard. I mean, one the size of a car, forget it.
Yeah, I found my family and I found one when I was a kid that was about, I guess it was about a foot and a half in diameter, and it was nasty. I was trying to push it around with the rake, direct
Right.
which way it was going with the rake, and it snapped at the rake and literally almost took the thing in half.
Oh
Like
yeah,
a wooden rake. It's crazy. All right, so let's get to the questions here. Sapphire
sure.
Elf, he said he's got a question. He says, I guess from Al Santoriga earlier, if not demons, then why do they have to ask for permission to enter your home or car? I think maybe we covered that already.
We kind of did cover it, but I understand the demon aspect of it and getting back into the demonic entity and evil God, good versus evil, God versus devil. There may be something demonic to it. I don't know. This could be the evil that prowls the earth, seeking the ruin of man. And God, of course, Michael. When you say the Holy Michael prayer, it's not just like I said before. It's not just about Satan. It's about all the evil that prowls, seeking the ruin of souls or man. So it very well, there could be some rules that we're just not aware of, and which is odd. Like, are there really rules between good and evil? Like, no, you have to do that first before I
Yeah.
counter with this. But maybe there is certain things in place. Otherwise, I mean, we're talking about different things have been around for a millennium. We don't know what was created here when the earth was really created and who put what where and said, no, you're allowed to do it if you get permission.
Well, let me
And
ask
maybe
you a
that's why they're
question.
asking.
I guess about the black-eyed kids. I have a quick question.
Sure.
You said that and it only comes up because you just spoke about them being around for a millennium.
Right.
When people normally see these things, aren't they wearing like old 1800 style clothing?
No. I mean, most of the kids are, there's a lot more reports of them being in the US, more like hoodies, like some kind of something that covers their head, almost like robes but modern day robes, something that would cover
Modern day
their
robe. Yeah, that's a hoodie.
yeah. I mean, no, we don't see that's the whole thing. It's like take your hoodie off, and maybe when you take the hoodie off, there's a horn there or there's spikes or something. Maybe they are demonic. I've never experienced them, but I'm interdimensional beings could very well look grotesque and deformed and look like what the Bible has stated are demons, what they look like.
Yeah.
You know,
All right. So AJK says, should I shoot a Bigfoot if I see one?
I would recommend you do not do that. You don't have the. Well, I don't know, AJ. I mean, I don't know if you have that kind of hardware, but I consider them. There's something more humanistic about it, even though I think it's a separate species. And unless it's putting or threatening your life, I would recommend you don't This is a 800 to almost 2,000 pound class A predator, and you're not going to be able. You'll get the first round off before it comes over and rips your head off. It's
You
just
know,
not going to end well for you.
They make those 50 caliber handguns now, don't they?
Yeah, you'll get one off
revolver.
before your wrist recovers. You broke your wrist. And you're done. Your best bet is if you encounter Sasquatch in general they're pretty good about warning you off. You get the rock throws first.
Yeah.
And again, they exude this type of I think it's called I call it infrasound, and it's pretty much telling you stay the hell away from me or the area. And if you're not smart enough to pick up on those clues, then you know what? It's called natural selection, and you're a Darwin candidate. I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on here. Vash Wolfwood says, has Bryan noticed a spike in paranormal activity in and around CERN and when it gets switched on?
Yes. There's been a lot of paranormal activity. What would be classified as paranormal activity now? But I think it's again they're opening these portals, these doorways, these connections to other dimensions as well as other timelines, and entities or creatures that are existing on these other timelines, not necessarily on our own, are being allowed to come in. But there has definitely been a big spike in that type of activity. Time space rips. This is really, really interesting. Memories that you get that are of, it's kind of like that deja vu.
Yeah.
But it's like that because I think it taps into the other dimensions. So what I'm trying to say here is I'm here right now, but somewhere in multiple dimensions, there's me in multiple dimensions. And somehow we are connected. And when you open that doorway, it allows the connection, a better connection. And you sometimes pick up on things like, whoa, I just saw this before. So things may be off in the timing. We may be off by a fraction of a second. And then that's why you're getting the dimensional, twist.
All right. Mary Kay wants to know, why do black-eyed kids always travel in pairs?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's usually an older kid versus with a younger kid. And I think it's almost like a training lesson. And I think they're almost using that as a moment, like, this is how you do it, kid. Because 9 out of 10 times, it's the older one that's talking, not the younger one. It's the older one that's really persuading. And I think they're trying to show them, this is how you do it. This is how you get the food. You want to get the food? Let's go hunting. And I think it's a hunt. I really do think it's a hunting period. It's an opportunist hunting. So that's why I think you have a younger one that's there.
All right.
And mind you, when we say kids, I think whatever this being is taking on the form of children, but it's not children.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like a shapeshifter almost, right?
Yes.
It's trying to come to you in a form that you might let into your house or car.
Yeah, it's something they're taking advantage of you and the human condition.
Well, if they're actually trying to get people to let them into their house and car, maybe they ought to do away with the hoodie.
Well, that's
I'm not. If somebody shows up at my doorstep and they're wearing a hoodie, I'm not letting them into my house.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you know what?
I mean, I wear hoodies all the time, but you know what I mean.
They're younger. They're young enough. It's kind of like okay. So there's beings that live in the forests and woods, besides Bigfoot and Dogman. There are these negative entities, beings. It could be demons. It could be just entities that have lived on the earth forever, and they prey on people. And I think a lot of that people go in the woods. They think they're just going to go for a hike. But what they don't understand is they need to protect themselves before they go on the hike. They need to protect themselves while they're on the hike. And I'm not just talking about physical, like a knife or a firearm, let's say, or after, but we're talking about spiritual. You need to invoke a protection of a higher power. In my case, it's God. It's I believe in God. So that's what it would be. because it looks like you're just going for a walk in the woods, but you really never know what you're going to encounter in there. And that's, I saw missing 411 on there a lot of times, on your chat. And I think part of what's contributing to the missing 401 is these little doorways or glimpses into other dimensions and other timelines opening up and someone grabbing somebody and just pulling them in.
Yeah,
that's what I think it is.
That's crazy.
I don't think it has anything to do with aliens type of abductions. I think it's more something that's interdimensional and boom, just pulling them in. Open a doorway, pull them in, doorway closes. Where does Phil go? I don't know. Maybe he went to take a piss. No, Phil's dead now.
Yeah, or he's just, nobody knows.
Yes,
all right,
Corn Pop would open the door.
Yeah, he would.
He'd play with my hair or legs.
He's a bad dude, man. He really is.
He's a bad dude.
So Sapphire Elf says, do black-eyed kids have an adult form? If so, do their roles change? I mean, do black-eyed kids become hat men?
No, I've never heard of black-eyed kids being something else or transforming into other things, but I've heard of human-esque type of forms with black eyes. And again, the feeling of dread, there was I don't remember the guys, but it was in Texas. Imagine that. They were driving around in like some almost like desert-esque kind of like plateau or whatever, and they're driving down this road and they come up like out of nowhere, there's a woman there and she's asking for help, and the next thing you know, they look up, her eyes go black, and they just get this fear about them, and one of them starts throwing up violently. It just like overcomes them. So I've heard of an adult shaped entity doing this, and I'm going to say it's never good.
Right.
Never good to see black-eyed.
AJK wants to know if black-eyed kids rub hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun.
They do at the pool. They rub hairy legs, turn blonde at the pool. Well, I'm listening to Black-Eyed Peas. And
hybrid alien says, do you think the black-eyed kids were created by the other side by dead people?
No, I really don't think. I don't think they were created by anybody. They're just a manifestation of some kind of entity or being. Now, again, the permission thing leads me a little bit more towards what would be classified as a demon or something demonic, based on the Judeo-Christian type of, what we've read or understood. But I'm not necessarily saying it's a demon. I'm saying it's some kind of entity that's taking on this form, and because I don't think its physical form or shape would be pleasing to anyone, so it's transforming something that's more pleasing to approach the food source to get what they need.
All right. Are black-eyed children attracted to a certain kind of victim?
No, I just think they're opportunists, and it's usually, yes, they are more so individuals that are alone or by themselves. In the case of Bryan Bowden, he was all by himself late at night, and a lot of this stuff. I mean, some of it's happened during the day, but I don't believe many of those stories. I think it's more night-based when they come out, and late at night based. Like there's a lot. If you see a kid that's 10 years old with a 16-year-old child, kid, and it's like 12:45 in the morning, they shouldn't be there. There's things that are present that's not logical. Your brain should be catching this, but most of the time it just takes people by surprise, and that is their part of their weapon. Hey, we need help. Let us in. We need to call the police. Can you let us in? You're like, no. You know what? Go home.
Yeah, I'll call them from out here. Thanks.
Yeah, and then
and I don't need to let you in to call 911, right?
Yeah, no, you don't. And I would highly advise you never to open the door.
What if you opened the door and just took a shot at one? Wouldn't you?
I think if the moment you open the door, you're allowing them into. It's almost like a permission.
Wait, so you don't even have to let them in the house? Or what if you just open the door?
I think it's still, you're giving them access, because you're seeing a physical form, but you don't know what they can change into, and you don't know how quickly they can move through things.
So
They
you're
could
saying
be,
you're saying don't even open the door.
no, you don't open the door. You don't roll down the window. You don't do any of that stuff. You just get out of Dodge. Live for another day. You know what? You have a cell phone. No, kids, I'll call the police now. What's your mom's number? And
Yeah.
then what'll happen is they'll get angry. And once that's when their true black eyes show. They get pissed off because they know you're not going to fall for it. And then they disperse. And it's really funny. All these cases, like you're doing something, or like this guy's in the car and no one else around, and they just appear. Like, where the hell did you come from? It's a really weird thing, you know. Very, very strange.
Yeah. All right. Al Santariga wants to know: is it possible black-eyed kids, alien, extraterrestrial, alien, interdimensional? I mean, is it possible it all kind of? I mean, that it has to do with an alien intelligence?
Well, Mr. Santariga, I really don't know. That's my partner in crime over there. I don't know. I don't know what the connection is. I just know that there have been reported cases. I've never heard of anything alien related near the same case. Like they had UFO sightings, within the hour, or there was strange, it just doesn't seem to be that case. I think aliens are aliens, no matter what race they are. Reptilian, mantis, grays, talls, whatever they are what they are. These, I think, are just something not from our dimension, or not from our world.
All right. A hybrid alien wants to know, could your mind manifest all this stuff? Could it 100%. Be something that we're just manifesting in our head?
Yes, it could very well be something you manifest in your head. That's part of the game that's played. But in general, it's if you're in your home by yourself and you're hanging out, you're doing X, Y, and Z, just chilling out, watching something, and also there's a knock on the door, you're like, hey, who's there? Or you could see out through your ring and you see these two kids there. You're not manifesting that. Your camera's not manifesting that. It's just, yes, there's the mind play tricks on you, sure. The more reports you get of these things, it's very interesting how the psychology of a human being will also record the same. Oh, I had the same experience, because it's in the back of their heads. They've heard the stories, and something crazy happens, and they put, two and two together. But I don't think it's I forgot the name of the form, what they call it, when you manifest something.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I think it's part of it, but I think these things are real in their own entities.
All right. Well, we got over 150 people in here, and I remember the first show I did where I broke 100 people listening at once. I was so excited, I couldn't believe it. And to steadily have 150 people in the chat room now,
that's awesome.
Just goes to show, man, that this channel is growing. I thank all you guys for showing up, and it certainly is fascinating that all of the questions you guys have. I mean, you guys make this show, so. I mean, I think that's the last half hour. I think I look forward to more than anything else, because, man, you guys come up with some crazy questions. So
you got a great group here.
We've got a few more questions. I'll go ahead and
sure.
I'll put in here and now in the chat box. Do you mind staying for a little extra and finishing up the questions here?
I got all the time in the world at this point. So
all right.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll answer anything.
All right, so I stuck "and" in the chat box, so I guess once we get to that, that'll be it, guys. So Lady T says, and we spoke, I guess, about the Missing 411 series already, but she wants to know, do you think the Missing 411 series has to do with cryptids?
I think it's a combination of some cryptids. There have been reports of, I'm going to use Bigfoot in the area, these Bigfoot type of creatures in the area, or description of a very large, hairy, man-like entities, and then you have a 411 missing case. But no one can really fully connect the dots. Or they'll be, like a group will be walking someplace or hiking, and the guy goes missing, and they look, but they do find some large footprints there. Like I said, I do believe that it's an innate ability. It's kind of like, I can't explain to you how I started breathing. It's just something that's built into us. Just like these entities, they can go interdimensional. When they go interdimensional and they go into that other side, they're in a different form. But when they come to our side, they can be a humanist form, like flesh and blood. Not human, but flesh and blood. And I think these things have the ability, and I think they have the taste for we're just as much prey as anything else. You know, I mean, just think of it this way. You know, in the US, we love our dogs, right? We love our dogs and our cats. But elsewhere around the world, they're a tasty item on a menu. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's some entities out there that are, you know, we have crafted relationships with some of these Bigfoot where we've, you know, they know who we are, they know our intentions pure, and they're allowing certain type of interactions. It's not like I can't see fully physical cryptid, mind you, but we know that they're there. I mean, there's a presence, there's everything, and there's a you know, part of that that's great, but there's also some of them that are, you know, they're not nice, and they are predators, and they are hungry, and they're opportunists, and there's reports of them, you know, kidnapping females, you know, and children, and also, you know, reports of children being protected by these things. They get lost in the woods. Recently, that's what the case was. I forgot the case where it was, but a child went missing for a couple of days, and they said, "Oh, the big hairy thing, you know, he protected me." So you know, it can go either way. Just like, you know, there's good people in the world, there's bad. I think it's in a room of 10 people, at least 2 of them are a potential serial killers. That's what the FBI pretty much come up to. So
that's crazy,
you know,
to think about, isn't it?
It is, because I mean, I'm like, right now, my daughter has like 36 kids in her classroom, and you know, there's probably about 5 serial killers that are, you know, go to school there. You know, think about that. You know,
crazy.
like,
it's crazy.
Oh, I knew he was bad.
All right, so Rachel wants to know, it's not okay what CERN is doing. How do we stop them? Don't we have a say?
No, you don't have a say. You don't have a say at all. They're going to do what they want to do, and I think a lot of it is very nefarious, and they're trying to do things. It's not about, you know, they'll throw in the you know, tests for Hogan's bison, you know, the theories and stuff like that. But I think they're doing this purposely to do no good. And I can't prove it, but you're talking about a very, very strong and powerful bunch of individuals. And unless you decide to have a revolution and really say, you know, we're not going to take this crap anymore, we're going to stop this, you're not going to, you have no say in it. None.
All right. So,
you know, I don't want to say the words, but you'd have to disable the actual thing constantly, and they're going to rebuild it.
I mean, you'd have to cut off its power supply or something, or I mean, where is it even getting its power? Right? Doesn't it have its own like dedicated nuclear reactor?
Yep. Oh yeah, and you know, it's not just, here's the fun part. It's not just the one you're looking at, CERN over in Europe. There's a lot of universities and a lot of labs. I mean, a lot of schools have their own smaller particle accelerators. And I think there's a little bit more science on those, but who knows why they were given those, you know. What's the purpose? You know, it makes it easier access to, you know, well, when everybody goes home for the day, another group comes in and starts, you know, doing some kind of sacrifice to try to get, who knows, you know, Satan to come back, or the Antichrist. I mean, it gets really, really weird.
Yeah, Brittany says, awesome show. So glad I finally caught one live. Glad you're able to catch us live, Brittany. Awesome. Remember, follow us on Facebook. Look for the Conflict Radio Network. We're Conflict Radio on Twitter. I always announce there ahead of time when a show is and what time we're going live, so people can see. Dr. Strangelove has a question. He says, what happened? Did COVID end something or start something? And I'll give you my take on that when you're done.
That's a great movie, by the way. I think COVID is plot by a select, very, very, the 1% of 1% to depopulate and sterilize this planet. And
all right,
that's what it is.
I want to. So it's starting.
It's what this was the effort.
It was the beginning of something, right?
Had somebody not won the presidency 4 years ago, and another evil woman won it, it would have started 4 years ago, and it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna throw in my own 2 cents on there, and it
Sure.
feels like this whole sickness thing, whatever we call it, it feels like it's wrapping up, and we're moving into the next phase. Whatever it is, the next phase is getting ready to start, and this is ending. This phase is ending, and there's a new one that's getting ready to get going here. So pay attention, because I think it's going to be even worse than what we're having to deal with now. So,
I think we're getting a lot more people waking up to what really is going on here, and realizing that, and this is why it's stopping in the UK right now. People are, more information's coming out, and the more informed you are, the less likely you are to be hoodwinked. And what's happening is, I think, if we play this out the right way, we, the people, the 99%, really can have a wonderful planet here and a wonderful world. No more controls. Not like a utopia. It's going to be good and bad, but we're not going to allow the bad stuff to happen anymore. We're going to put these evil entities in their place and keep them out of society. Yeah. And I think that's what's changing right now.
Well,
we gotta wait for the bait and switch.
We're in a great awakening. Like, I guess I think what's happening is people between the internet and social media, everybody's starting to get information from all different places instead of one centralized place where they control what they're feeding everybody. I think we're in what they call the Great Awakening. I think that's exactly it. It's an awakening into off of the mainstream news nipple, I guess, right?
Yes, and look at the control is the key here, and the awakening, control and awakening. We are now in the age of Aquarius, and if you really look into that, it's the awakening where everybody realizes that they have their own power to connect to God and to good, and they have more power than these few that are keeping us under control. And this is what's happening. And look, I have, I'm not blasphemous to anybody. You want to go to a church, God bless you, do it. But that's a control feature. The God, as we know in Judeo-Christian world, is everywhere. You can talk to God directly. You do not need a priest or a pope or a cardinal or a bishop to do it.
Yeah, you don't need anybody to go in between. I agree with you.
And this is the control factor. You get rid of the control. You know what happens? They don't have any more money. Why is it that the Vatican has trillions of dollars, and yet we have children around the world that are homeless and starving? That's just, it goes against everything. A young guy that was 33, was preaching, you're supposed to help the good. You're supposed to help people out. You know what? It's not a part of the French hooray for me, fuck you attitude. Okay. And we're going to move into that. It's not that attitude. We're going to start helping people. We're going to be considerate. We're all stressed out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Sorry.
Stress is getting everybody. And it's crazy because it doesn't have to be. All right. Nope. Hybrid Alien wants to know, do you think the monsters were sent to test us by jokers or some other force on the other side?
No, I just think they're opportunists and there's a crack in the fence. It's kind of like you're walking in a place, say, hey, where does that door go? And you go into it. Oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Oh, this is really cool. And that's what it's like. I don't think anybody was sent to us at that point. But I think some of the CERN stuff is being done so it allows this negative energy and entities to come in here.
All right. Vash Wolfwood has a good question. He says, do we have any proof or I guess any ideas that these entities coexist or maybe even battle against one another, i.e., lions and hyena or lions and antelope? And that's a good question. Like, do they all get along? I mean, or is it possible like maybe the shadow people and the black-eyed kids, like when they're alone together in a room, they fight, they hate each other. Who knows, right?
There is no proof, and that I'm aware of, publicly, that I'm aware of, or privately. I mean, I think our governments throughout the world know more about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman, and some other entities. I think they have some of these specimens in place, but there is no proof. There's stories of black-eyed kids. There's stories that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years of similar type of entities and tricksters and what have you. But there's, you get these, I could get a great shot of Sasquatch or Bigfoot, right? And I could post it on Facebook or any place, and someone's going to say, oh, that's Photoshop. Just like if Jesus came back and he was in the middle of Times Square, like, I'm Jesus Christ. The two cops would arrest him and go, yeah, I'm the Pope. Yeah, and I'm the Pope. Let's go, pal. You can have the most incredible experience, and a lot of people won't believe you. They just won't.
It's totally true.
Yeah.
All right. Holonaut Psychtron says, don't most of what we think are extraterrestrials originally come from Earth?
I don't think they originally come from Earth. I think there are entities that were here from Earth that are extraterrestrials and came here a long, long time ago and moved into the inner Earth and have been there and have created a new colony, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think they were here on their own. I don't think they arrived as far as extraterrestrials are concerned. There's a lot of the reason why most,
but the reptilians, they could have originated here, right? I mean, they could be the dinosaurs evolved for all we know, right?
For all we know, they could have been. I can't say yes or no. I mean, I don't believe so. And from my research and from talking to other people that have had many, many experiences of abductions, not only by extraterrestrials, but by the U.S., military. These beings are here for one thing and one thing only, and it's not a galactic federation and to help us as humans. They are here to help themselves. It's all about the destruction of their culture, their races on their planets and their galaxies, and they're using our DNA, which happens to be like pristine, to create hybrids to continue on their races. Some of them are more aggressive, like that reptilian side is more aggressive, and they like they're super powerful. They like using humans as slave labor. They think we are basically idiots because they happen to be very intelligent. And there are other entities that are extraterrestrials are out there and that were here over millennia that are keeping everybody at bay. It's kind of like a giant standoff.
Yeah.
And, the reptilians know that if they make a stupid move, it's not just going to be the Nordics or the Pleiadians or X or Y or Z. It's going to be all of them because that's not how it works. There's almost like a BS type of agreement saying, look, there's enough for everybody. Don't get greedy. And that's just from my own personal research.
All right. Lady T says, don't wear yellow in the woods. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not. Is the corn pop going to get you?
No, I don't know. Like maybe yellow attracts something. I don't know. That's what I was asking.
I've never heard about the yellow.
Maybe she can tell us a little bit. That's interesting. Maybe something to look into. There.
Wow.
Okay. So up. We've got bots in here.
Oh, you got bots now.
North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project says transhuman beings from black goo. Have you heard of this? This black
yes,
goo.
Yes, I have.
We could probably do a whole show on black goo, right?
Yeah, you could probably do a whole show on black goo. Yes.
All right.
These are semi-hybrids, in my opinion, and that black goo is not good. It's very reminiscent of, believe it or not, the X-Files, and it's a combination of extraterrestrials and what the Blob would have been, where it just gets bigger and bigger and consumes more and more and more.
All right.
But I think it's based on an extraterrestrial biological entity.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a show on black goo. Maybe I can reschedule you, and we'll just talk about this black goo and transhumanism. But boy, that's some crazy stuff.
Yes.
Lady T says for some reason there are more disappearances with people that wear yellow. That's interesting.
Really?
No, I didn't
Well,
know that.
I wasn't aware of the yellow aspect of it. I mean, is that I'm wondering if that's a David Pallades investigation piece. I do find it very interesting, besides the yellow, the mysterious staircases that appear in places where there shouldn't be a staircase. And people are told do not climb the staircase. So maybe that opens up into some kind of portal or another dimension, who knows? But I've never heard the yellow thing before. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Vash wants to know, has Bryan had any strange or scary experiences that he's willing to share? So have you had any yourself?
Oh, I've had plenty of strange and scary experiences. Tell you what, I can share one that happened to me when I was about, I'm going to say 9 years old, and took place in Western Connecticut in my summer camp. It was 78, 79 or around then. And I'm sleeping. My mother was a school teacher, so she got a job in the summer as the head of a girls' side of the summer camp. So I got to go to sleepaway camp because my mother worked there, and I appreciated that. We were working class people. I still am. And in my bunk, I'm not afraid of the dark at all. I slept on a top bunk, and where the bunk was situated, where my feet are, was this window. So I had a lot of wall space, the outside wall, and then a window appeared, and the window was about 3 by 3. And I remember having to get up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, and the lights in the entire bunk were off, which meant my counselors have come back from the night. They shut their lights off, and everybody goes to sleep. So no one was up, and I'm about to get up, and I smelled this skunky smell, which is definitely familiar for Connecticut. And I kind of see something in the window. And as I lean forward a little bit more, just peeking through it, there's a giant head in the window of my bunk window right there. And it's
just a head, like a head in the box type thing.
Not a head in the box. It looked like a giant monkey or gorilla. And it was looking, it kind of was tilting its head and kind of moving up and down. And I could make out some of the brow. I could see the eyes were blacker than black. I saw the nose shape a bit, and I froze. I would not move, because where that head was and where my feet were, there was nothing. There was no more than maybe 3 inches, 4 inches. So I froze. I mean, that really freaked me out at that point. Like, what the heck is this? And I would not move for well over an hour. I didn't move. I was just sitting there. My heart was racing. Like, who the heck is, this is big, And eventually my bladder won out. I slowly slid my feet back so I can get off the bed. I slid back. I went under the bed that I was in, under the second bunk. And I literally, dog crawled all the way over and to the bathroom. And when I got to a certain point, there was an outside door along the same wall. And I froze for a minute, listened, and then I kept crawling underneath it just so I could go to the bathroom. But I remembered that only through conversations with my buddy Al, because we investigate Bigfoot, and there's a lot more Bigfoot on the East Coast than you would think. And at the time when this was happening, I never would have thought Bigfoot, because I thought Pacific Northwest, thanks to Leonard Nimoy and In Search Of. I never thought there was Bigfoot here. But there's a lot of Bigfoot in Connecticut, in New York, and Pennsylvania. And this was a Bigfoot. And I confirmed it. I did some research on the year, every year around there. And I remember the year I was in the bunk, and I did research, sightings of Bigfoot in that area. And that year they had 3 sightings of a extremely large bipedal cryptid to the property right next to my camp, which was a reservoir. They were seen there. So I know that there were Bigfoot there at that point. And what's fast forward to last year, my daughter, my oldest daughter, goes to camp there now. It's a different camp, but they go into this one area of the woods on the boys' side where my bunk was, and they do this like closing ceremony with fire. And I jokingly said, "Did you see a Bigfoot?" She goes, "Yeah, I did." And I said, "Come on, you're joking with me." She goes, "No, I saw one. It was in the woods, and it kept peeking out." I said, "How big was it?" And she said it was probably about 8-9 feet tall. And I said, "Really?" And I said, "Draw it." And so she kind of drew it. It was a giant monkey. And every time the light would get brighter over there, it would go back behind the trees and fade away. Instead it disappeared.
All right.
And I know somebody that's in the area, and he does a lot of Sasquatch work up there, and he's a great guy. Chris Reinhardt for Berkshire Mountain Squatch. So if you should get him on and talk Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, have him send me a message or something on Facebook.
I definitely will.
Yes, if he's up there, send us a message or something. I'll get him on.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. I wasn't really at all too interested in Bigfoot until I guess last week, which like Bigfoot was the original Earth being, and I thought, well, that makes sense. Like that's totally fascinating. Like I don't know. That just makes sense to me. You ever every once in a while you'll hear something, or you'll hear a theory or something like that, and you're just like, that's it. It just makes perfect sense to you. All right,
Well,
so Carol
it does make perfect sense.
Yeah, Carol's Cookies wants to know: is there such thing as a haunted van or haunted vehicles even?
Oh, I mean, yeah. There's in Rockland County. There's a road. I think it's Clinton Road. Is it Clinton? Yeah, I think it's Clinton Road. And it's that old folklore. If you drive that road at night and you shut your lights off, a van appears out of nowhere behind you and tries to run you off the road. And I know somebody that did it, and he swears up and down it was a real van. Now, I haven't done it. I think maybe I'd like to do a road trip maybe with my buddy Al, and we'll just go investigate, put cameras up in the whole nine. But I don't doubt that there are residual hauntings of events that took place. Energy that was imprinted on the roadway. And people are seeing it in different type of vans or motor vehicles.
All right, so I guess we have made it to the end.
That's not bad.
I'm looking to see if
Zanu was asking a question, or maybe it's something else.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any good ones.
No.
Yeah, Rachel says if you knew CERN was trying to help evil beings trap our energy or send us somewhere, could we fight harder?
Like I said, you'd have to disable the actual collider and all the colliders. I mean, you understand that they're building more. They have one of the biggest ones. It was the world's biggest. Is back. It's been back online forever. It's over in Illinois, and they're a little lab one. So they're going to do what they do, and they're going to make a bigger one than they have now. Because
could you imagine how big? How big are we going to go here?
I think it's going to be twice the size in circumference. That's pretty big.
Right.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just going to get to this question here. Zune, so are the jinn actually demons, devils, or fire and smoke entities in another dimension?
I think they are entities. I don't think they're fire and smoke. I think they're some kind of entity that used to rule the earth, the top part where we are right now. I don't know if they would be. I guess they're classified by the different religions as a demon or a devil, but it's just what was here prior to, in the dark and the black, before the Lord said, "Let there be light," and Lucifer, the light bearer, he created light for the Lord. It was ruled in darkness by these other beings or entities. I don't have a jinn to, nor do I want one. I don't want to have any action with jinns personally.
Not quite human says, if you wear yellow, you deserve to go missing. I guess if you're in the woods and you're with somebody you don't like, maybe you can just pee on them.
Yes, and Carol's Cookies, I've been near that Shades of Death trail, I believe.
Do you think aliens use money?
I don't. I think money. See, I think money or that is an Earth type of construct, just like time is an Earth construct. They don't know time. They don't know. They don't know money, and they don't know emotion. Most of these beings just don't. It's we always try to put a humanistic quality on these things that we don't understand because that's what we would do. But you don't understand that these beings are just it's black and white for them. There's no gray in there unless on their skin. Um, so it's what it is. I don't think there is a monetary system or whatever. I think it's just a collective, like a whole race working together type of
Yeah,
thing.
I suppose you wouldn't need much of money, like if you could actually design and build, you know, beings to do all of the hard work for you.
Well, I think there's a hierarchy within the system. So you know, like again, there's multiple grays, and
It's like the
some are
grasshoppers running the ants.
right. It's you know, you have an extraterrestrial biological entity that's created. It's a clone. It's a worker bee, because the other extraterrestrials have other things that they're doing. I don't know what they do on their planet. I have two different separate events of missing time. I'm not regressing myself to find out, but you know, there's a reason why each one of them does what they do. You know, I just don't have. I can't physically give you the proof, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd either be missing, you know, or you know, no one would ever hear from me again.
All right. All right, man. Well, I guess that's gonna do it for us, everybody. We got to the end. We stayed a little bit longer to get everybody's questions. I see Sapphire Elf just threw one up here right at the end. I'll let you get away with it because Sapphire Elf's pretty awesome. He says, if aliens are more advanced and smarter than us, wouldn't they be more specialized too? Why don't we see clothing or guild marks or individualism amongst most aliens?
But you do see, if you look at some of the reports, specifically the crashed UFOs, and I'm talking about Roswell, and also well, Jesus, the forest in the UK. Well, there are symbols that are present on some of the objects that they've recovered. There is marks, there's trademarks, there's notes on them. We just general public has not deciphered them. I'm sure they have people that are cartologists that are working on some kind of what's their language, or through the deals that Eisenhower made, you know, we have a certain translation of their language into what it means in our language. But it's not that you know you're not gonna get that from you know what the military knows, dark black projects know. They're not going to reveal that to you. There are cases where you have Native Americans or Native people that do story rocks or petroglyphs, and they do some writings on there, and it's attributed to these you know groups of indigenous people. But if you ask some of the elders, if they decide to talk about it, they'll tell you this is the language of X. You know, this is how they write. This is how they communicate. So
Yeah,
it's
and
just
there could
not a
be a
common
lot.
thing.
There could be a lot going on there too that we just don't see.
Yeah,
You know, like
you know,
different auras that they have, or certain, maybe they have like icons all around them as they're walking, and we just don't see that because we don't have that plant in our eye, or
right?
something, like, or that implant in our eyeball. We can't see all the things that they see normally. So I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot there that we don't know. We don't understand. We're like ants looking at a bicycle going, what the hell is that?
and you also have people that have been abducted, right? And multiple times been abducted, and little by little, when they either get regressed or they're allowed to kind of remember these moments because they're moving into a different aspect of that abduction. You always hear these stories. Well, I was showing these images, and they started flashing repeatedly, and some people out of nowhere start writing these hieroglyphs. There's a whole bunch of kids that they call them light children and the children of the light, which is also extraterrestrial based. And these kids can speak a language that is just not a real. It looks like gibberish, but they could read it and speak it. And these are supposedly hybrids between a specific group of extraterrestrials and humans over generation and generation.
Huh. You know, it makes you wonder if we're just not there. If we're just not a video game that they created to play in, right?
Well, I hope they have a shitload of quarters.
Yeah, right. Keep playing.
We're you know what the problem with humans is, we're very unpredictable. Even though we are predictable to a certain point, we're a wild card.
Well,
We're
unless we're programmed that way.
I don't know. I really don't. It's very odd.
I mean,
like I said, we go through these investigations. We have a theory. You know, I have a ton of hypotheses, and then I finally get to a point like, yeah, this is it. And then some event happens. I'm like, okay, scrap that crap. Let's go now, but let's go back. You know, I never can get to that point. I get very close, and then something happens, and like, okay, put that on the back burner. Let's move it here. It's very frustrating in doing this, believe it or not.
It's true. Miss Jem wants to know. She has a question, and I'm going to ask it because I've never seen her ask a question before.
Cool.
So,
hey, Miss Jem.
I'm going to throw it out there. I know this question sounds crazy, but have aliens visited prisons, and have they experimented on prisoners?
Yes and yes. Now, I don't think they're the go-to whatsoever, because I think there is something. See, I think there is a consciousness level and energy and a frequency, and I don't think prisoners vibrate on a frequency that's worthy of the focus on these extraterrestrials. I think people that have more potential, that may be unaware of the potential and gifts, are focused in on because they resonate at a higher frequency, and thus they are, believe it or not, higher beings unbeknownst to themselves. So I think they would definitely investigate that because it is part of the species. Like, why do they lock these up? But other than that, I don't think there's too much focus on prisoners. But I think that would be, if somebody wants to research something, that'd probably be a killer book.
Yeah, there you go.
An extraterrestrial.
Don't be giving me no
Sue.
Ideas, right?
Well, just write it. An extraterrestrial named Sue, right there.
Well, I mean, there's a good question. Like, have there been any prisoners in custody that have just mysteriously vanished?
Yeah, they have. They're in Pennsylvania right now. They're running in the woods.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, you know what? I never really looked into it as much. I've heard stories about some people in other countries that were incarcerated, but that's something I'm going to look into. Actually, that's definitely worth our salt. And I saw Stan Romanek there, and I'm a very big fan of his. And I don't think he is a pedophile. I think he just pushed too many buttons, and the government took him out that way.
Yeah.
But he came back with stuff a long time ago. Corn Pop's problem though.
Well, you know what? AJK here, he says Justin T is a black-eyed Canadian or Canadian. I would assume he's talking about Justin Trudeau, and all I got to say on that is if those truckers get a hold of him, you're darn right he will be a black-eyed Canadian. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, he needs to get his what is it, high treason Trudeau, right?
Bash keeps wanting me to ask the corn pop question. Where were you, man? We did that already.
We did corn pop.
We've already talked about it.
Touching those ET hairy legs.
All right, Brian, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and we're going to wrap it up, man.
Sure. So they can find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as well. I'm on Gab. I'm on all those. Bryan M. Bowden. I do have a website, bryanbowden.com. I'm also part of the Bronxville Paranormal Society with Al Santoriga, New York State UFO Project, New York State Sasquatch organization, and we're also doing a New York State Dogman project. Now, when we say New York State, it's just general because we're out of New York State, but we investigate things not only nationally but internationally. So don't be afraid to give us a call, drop us a line. It's easy to do. Our hotline number is 516-519-3649. Open 24/7, and we will get back to you. Text, phone, whatever you got.
All right, awesome. And everything Bryan Bowden is down in the description box below, guys. If there's something I missed, Brian, just send me the link on Facebook, and I'll throw it in there for you.
I'm never going to live it down because Al's going to give me like, oh, you put an extra paragraph in my bio. I'm like, every time I do something, just add more to it. And Al goes, what? 3 more paragraphs? So.
Oh, I don't know. I copied that from the last show we did that we couldn't put on YouTube. Oh, just so everybody knows, we did do a show on the DC swamp that's not available on YouTube at all. It's a missing episode. It's only available on Spotify and Spreaker and all that stuff. And speaking of that, remember, you can always find Conflict Radio online. Just go to www.conflictradio.net. We're available on Spreaker, Spotify, and all of your normal podcast catchers, Apple, iTunes, iHeart Podcasts, whatever. We're there. Do check out our store. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that like button, guys. 111 likes today. I see almost 170 people in here right now.
Yep.
What a showing,
That's
man.
awesome.
Conflict Radio is growing and growing and growing. And I'm putting it out there. I'm making an intention. I'm gonna let everybody know that Conflict Radio will be as big as the Joe Rogan podcast one day. It will happen.
Yes.
And that's just something that we're striving towards. So let's hit that like button, share. Tell your friends, because we are here and we got it going on, man. So
can I just say one more thing? I really want to thank everybody in this chat. I've been monitoring it. I'm trying to get to it, but everybody there, I really do appreciate your questions, and I love the jokes and fun because I do this all the time, and I appreciate your audience. It's really a really great group of people there. I know a lot of people that are there. I appreciate all your questions, and like I said, I'm not an expert. I just give you what I've learned. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I do want you to use your own. If you have a problem with what I'm saying, please just go investigate. Please look it up and definitely do some research on your own. Don't just take someone's word for it. I'm just showing you in talking about what I've experienced and what I've come across. I may be right, I may be wrong. And it's not, I'm not trying to get out of it, but I'm just trying to tell you exactly what it is. I tell the truth. I don't have time for the BS. So that's what I do. And I do appreciate everybody in there and the questions, and you having me back on your show. I appreciate that much.
Yeah, I get every single guest we have rants and raves about the listeners and the questions, except for one. We had one guest that seriously like wrote me a nasty letter about how horrible the people were and how dare they were so rude, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like really, like I've never had that. Like, I was surprised. I'm sitting there thinking, what happened? Like, where'd that go wrong? Like, wow. One day I'll tell you guys who that was.
Oh man,
I find it funny, man. Like, wow. Like,
that's crazy.
All right, no, Happy. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't a religious show. It wasn't. It was not. It was not one of those shows. It was Kimberly McGeorge. I mean, one day I'll tell everybody who that was that complained about all of you guys. All right, so that's it, guys. That's gonna do it for us. Brian, hang on a minute. I want to chat with you for a minute off the air. I want to get you rescheduled again to do a show on goo and whatnot. And I guess I already gave a shout out to everybody, so we're just gonna wrap it up. Have a great night, everybody. Remember, batten down the hatches and be safe.
See aircraft that were clearing. Talks about
Greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio.